Welcome to 1856 First Church, Pella, Iowa podcast.
Hey, welcome back to the First Church, Pella, Iowa podcast. My name is Mike Melody, and I'm starting out today with an admission of guilt. I made an error. The podcast you're about to hear was actually recorded last week, Tuesday, October 14th. But with that said, here's the podcast. Welcome back to the First Church, Pella, Iowa podcast. My name is not Bob Johnson, nor is it Brienne Patel. My name is Mike Melody, and I'm usually starting the podcast recording it, but today is a different day because Alex Foley's here to join me, and we're doing something new.
Yeah, not only am I dressed in my parka because it's cold outside, and Pastor Bob would love me addressing that fact of me loving jackets.
60 degrees out.
Yeah, it's like 45.
Let's see. 58.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm weak. But when I'm weak, the Lord is strong.
Not only is it, you're wearing a sweater underneath your parka.
Yeah, me and shivering don't go well together.
Well, Alex, it's good to have you today. I'll get into why Alex is here in a little bit, but just some announcements first. Missions Festival is coming up at First Church. We have the honor to be joined by Felipe and Janelle Silva from Romania, missionaries we support. Pastor Samuel's here. Alex's own dad is going to be with us, and Scott and Becky are going to present as well through a video.
That's awesome.
Can you talk about your dad a little bit?
Yeah, super excited. My dad is actually flying to Asia the next morning. I'm taking him to the airport. So a super special time that you'll get to see my dad as he prepares to go back overseas. And in the meantime, get to hear a little bit more of all that the Lord is doing over in that region. Some really cool, encouraging things about reaching the unreached.
Yeah, and that's going to be October 26th. So your dad is doing the 11 a.m. He has an hour of talking. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We have an all-church roller skating party coming up. This is instead of our Wednesday night. This is on October 29th, so a few weeks away. We are all going roller skating. It's a family ministries event that is welcoming to everyone. We don't have a meal that night. And so it's just from 6 to 8 at the Knoxville Skate Pit, which is right outside do you know where that is?
No, but nothing like a good
right outside
skate
the raceway.
pit.
Yeah, Skate Pit. It's going to be a lot of fun. $3 for you to attend that. And Alex and I were talking about the Wednesday night meals before this. And this week, it's just worth mentioning, we are having meatloaf. And the question for everyone today is, do you eat ketchup with your meatloaf?
Or do you eat meatloaf with your ketchup?
I put ketchup on my meatloaf.
Yeah.
Do you?
I usually put it on. My wife is a dipper, so she doesn't put condiments on hardly anything. She puts it on the plate and dips that thing right up. So
does she put condiments on a hot dog?
No, she literally dips it.
She dips her hot dog.
She dips her hot dog. She dips her hamburgers.
Wow.
She dips her pizza. She's a dipper.
That's amazing. Meatloaf, cheesy potatoes, corn, Jell-O cake. Jell-O pokey cake, hot dogs, and Go-Gurts. So it's going to be a good night of
Amen.
Ministries this week. But Alex and I, this is the reason Alex is joining us on the podcast today. Alex and I were talking the other day. He was sitting in the prayer cove doing some work, and I just approached him and sat down for a little bit, and we talked. And I don't know how it came up, but we started talking about poetry. And I think what happened is the day before my dad shared this story with me.
Yeah, and I happened to be writing poetry at the time.
Right, and so it was kind of flowing.
Mm-hmm.
My dad shared this story that when he was in fourth grade, and I think I got the story wrong to you.
Oh, okay.
When he was in fourth grade, he was tasked with writing a poem. His teacher gave him a card. It was Christmas time. The card, it was where he was supposed to write the poem. It had 2 golden reindeer on it. And my dad went home, and he was having a hard time figuring out what to write. And so he went to his dad. This is where I lost the details. He went to his dad, and my dad's dad drank a little bit. So he was maybe a couple beers deep, and he gave his dad the card, and he started writing this poem. And he wrote this poem that said, 2 golden reindeer stood in a valley, one named Mo and the other Sally. Sally told Mo, "A genius you ain't, or you never would have told me to bathe in gold paint. You haven't much sense, and you don't use your brain, dear, because who ever heard of two golden reindeer?" My dad read the poem when his dad was done and was blown away, just amazed with how awesome it was. Brought it to school the next day, written on his little card with two golden reindeer on it, and read it in front of his class because that's what the teacher had all of the kids do. And as a result, the class roared. That's how he described it. They were laughing. They were out of control with how amazed they were with this poem. And as the class settled down, the old nun said, "Go home and write a new one that has nothing to do with Christmas." And it devastated him. And years later, he got some vengeance. Some revenge on that nun as he saw her and told her of the grave mistake she made. But that was my story that opened up this conversation about poetry that Alex and I had. And so, Alex, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I actually had a similar story I shared. I'll just share it in very brief here with Mike that day, where I had a junior high writing teacher that tasked us to write a poem for a poetry contest. And so I wrote a poem called Legoland, which was all about my Legos, and I was so proud of it. She said, "Hey, why don't you change all these things about it to make it better?" And my stubborn little 7th grade self said, "Absolutely not. It's my poem." So she failed it, and I put it into the contest, and it got 2nd place in the whole district. And yet I still got a failing grade. And from that moment on, I was math and physics or bust, because I was determined to only do things that I could be guaranteed quantifiable grades, and not just somebody's preference. And so that actually kind of changed the course of my life. And it comes fast forward to the end of my college years when I was a crazy man, and I had fallen off of my own cliff or throne of thinking I was really impressive. I graduated in astrophysics and had a fraternity brother life of all this nonsense that I was trying to be impressive, and ended up moving home with my dad, paying him rent, working at Family Video, and was just super humbled and was super lost, was super concerned with where my life was headed. And so I started writing poetry as a way to personally, privately express the frustrations that I had about my own life and about the world around me, and maybe some of the cards I was dealt, but mostly my own decisions. And so I'll never forget the first poem I wrote. It's called A Calloused Conscience, and it started out like curdled milk, a crippled mind corrupts a nearby neighbor. A sickening stench, a thirst unquenched, no nourishment left to savor. Rotting cores from gifts ignored plague those some once deemed blessed. Squandered talents as hopeful parents reach out from an empty nest. And it continued, and it was really just me kind of lamenting about the state of my life, how I had lived for things that didn't matter, and I didn't have much to show for it except a bunch of school debt and a piece of paper that said I was really smart. And that wasn't really worth much to me anymore. And so then it kind of started upon this journey of, well, what is going to be my journey towards purpose, towards meaning? And there's a lot of different pieces to that story, but ultimately in 2014, that year, I tore my hamstring, my last piece of impressiveness, athleticism. And so
you had an impressive hamstring?
I could dunk a basketball, and that was getting me some points at the YMCA. It's sad saying it out loud what I was really living for, but yeah, that was my sense of value. And so the push came to shove, and I was laying on my bed with a torn hamstring and just kind of feeling despondent. And I can't really explain it other than I was writing a poem one day, and I thought to myself, what if you could write in such a way where you stacked words into columns so that you could read like a normal book, left to right, top to bottom, but you could also read the columns as vertical sentences. Is that even possible? What would that take? And that began this unique puzzle-solving journey. I've always loved puzzles, of trying to see if these were possible. So I went to a friend and I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, and I want to embed something on that first column so that when you get to the column reading, then there's something relatable, something pithy, something wise. What do you think I should put in there? And he said, read the book of Proverbs. And so I read the book of Proverbs, and I was kind of selfishly doing it to mine out these quotes of wisdom to then put in these poems that I would meditate on and then find things to write off of. And then that launched me into thinking, I've never read the New Testament. I've read plenty of chapters and passages and memorized verses at Awana growing up and everything. But I've never sat down over a period of time and decided on my own, out of my own sheer interest or curiosity or conviction, maybe even criticism, to read the New Testament. And if it's the most influential book in the history of the world, bar none, which it is, even if you think it's false, it is unequivocally, indisputably the most influential book in the history of the world. So if I want to consider myself an educated person, a person that has meaningful stances on significant issues, I should probably have my own stance on it, not just listen to my family or listen to my professors who are saying gravely different things. I should read this thing. And so I read it, and that radically changed my life over the course of only like a couple weeks because I didn't have much else to do. And that was the fall of 2014, now about 11 years ago. And in those 11 years, the Lord has done amazing things. Of course, that's only really the start of my testimony, not the finish of it. But there's been a lot of writing and poetry and this new style that I was mentioning that I've dubbed Walla Words along the way that's really kind of helped me in my journey.
So at 13, you decided never to write poetry again.
Yeah, it was 7th grade. Yeah, something like that. Maybe even like 11 or 12.
Yeah. And I'm just processing this. So you did so because your teachers could judge you subjectively.
Exactly.
Did you ever get docked points on a math test for not showing your work?
No, because I was determined to impress with 100% every time. So I was like the opposite. I didn't want to impress people by showing that like I could do it without work. I was like, let me show you all the steps in the most precisely perfect way.
Yeah.
So that you would give me the 100% at the top. And you couldn't argue. And if you tried to give me anything less, like I would take it to the authorities. That was my kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And so it kind of turned me into a very different kind of stubborn fellow.
So I'm just returning. So that first poem, you didn't finish reciting it. But,
yeah.
What drove you to sit down with a pen and paper? I'm assuming you did it on pen and paper.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have the journals. Yeah, I've had quite a few half-finished journals now because after I started doing this, I had some different family members that it became the cool thing to give Alex a journal for his birthday or Christmas because he started writing. So it was like the cool thing. So I have like 7 or 8 of these.
So
things.
What drove you to sit down with this first journal?
So
your despair?
I told a half truth. There was one poem that I wrote before the one that I partially spoke, and it was about a girl when I was in college. Okay, I'll confess. It was titled "Wait." And it was a different kind of poem. It was a different kind of setting, so I don't really count it usually on my poem journey. But that definitely kind of was like an initial little spark, like an emotional spark of how to like work through a hard time where this girl had we had gotten to the point of pursuing potentially dating, and then she said, I'm not sure, I've been out of a previous relationship, we need to wait. And that had happened 2 different times over the course of a couple years. So I got all angsty and wrote this poem that, oh man, I don't know if I remember all of it. Wait, a word which whittles weary minds, plaguing patience, cursing conscience, potentially proving love is blind. From resolve evolves defiance. Purpose lost, time the cost as fickle forces fester. Indecisiveness the vice jousting giants and digesters. Just when it feels this time's for real, a new world I long to explore, she decrees to be not ready for me as I think I've heard this before.
You don't remember all of it?
Yeah, it came back emotionally in the moment. I'm actually kind of surprised that I didn't stop. But
so Did you share it with her?
I sent it to her, and she wasn't too pleased about it. I was in a different state of mind back in those days. But then I took this intro to poetry class, my very last semester of college. Yes, an astrophysicist taking intro to poetry. That is the American education system. And so I did it out of partially forced because to fulfill some credit, but out of choice as well. And it ended up being the history of poetry and how it related to different eras of psychology and science and art and music, and having to dissect other poems. We didn't write a single poem, but that kind of gave me this appreciation for the written word in a short, condensed, kind of pithy expression where people could really mine out remarkable truths in a small amount of words.
Well, and you got into slam poetry sometime after
yes,
that, right?
I did actually. So that's fast forwarding a little bit. So 2014 is when I was on my purpose journey and ended up reading the New Testament, came to Christ, so started
saved.
Wall of Words.
Yeah,
and then slam poetry started like 2015, 2016 for me. As I started to learn that there's this new kind of genre called slam poetry where you have partial rhyme. It's not rhyming at the end of every line or every other line. It's not normal meter, but it's also not complete free verse, which I really struggle with, where there's no meter, no rhyme. You're just kind of talking, but in some kind of an elaborate or descriptive way that sounds nice. Slam poetry has like partial internal rhyme that gives it a little bit of like a rhythm to it. And so, and slam poems are traditionally 2 to 4 minutes long, and they're almost narratives. So you're telling a story or some kind of phrasings that are pitched together to point to a certain kind of lesson. It's a very unique kind of thing.
Did your introduction to slam poetry involve being like profoundly impacted by a slam poet?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There is a slam poem online that I found. And to be absolutely honest with you, I don't remember the name or the artist in this moment. I'd have to Google it, but I remember some of the lines of the poem, so I could find it pretty easily on YouTube. But
what was it about? What stirred in you?
Yeah. So it's kind of like The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, where you don't know what it's about until you know what it's about. And then that's kind of one of the biggest punches of the whole thing. But I'll ruin it for you. Or at least I'll give you kind of the first punch. Basically, the slam poet is describing emphatically how he has just died and he's now approaching heaven, and he's approaching heaven's gates, and he's going to talk to God, and he's excited, and he's so pumped to see Jesus and everything. And then should I spoil it?
Yeah, do it.
And then in comes the fateful line, "I never knew you." And then he's like, "But I did all these things, but I worked so hard, but Lord, I was so excited to see you, but all my family's in there, but," and he's like, "Depart from me." And then it's like, this kind of like, I'm literally getting little tingles right now, because he does an incredible job of conveying it in a way that like, turns your gut, and you're like, oh my gosh. And so, he finishes the poem with like, "Let's not live like that, folks. Like, let's galvanize action in our faith." And it's like a call to action, not just some despairing poem, And that just really gripped me as like, man, what a profound 3 minutes to be able to change people's mentalities.
Yeah. It's kind of like a sermon. That's the goal of a sermon, that people would be convicted by God's word. So have you, in your journey with slam poetry, then, have you found a way to use it in an impactful way for others?
100%. Yeah, I wrote, most notably, I wrote one called "One for the Books," That's the name of the poem. And it is one of the rules of slam poetry is you're not supposed to say what a slam poem's about. The person's supposed to be able to figure out what it's about.
Yeah.
But since I'm not like about to recite it or anything, I'll give you a little bit of the 2 cents. Basically, I was part of a church down in Texas, Christ Community Fellowship. It was a wonderful church down there in East Texas. And they knew I was friends with the pastors and the leaders, and I was going to the men's Wednesday morning prayer, which was a huge blessing. And they knew my story, knew that I was into poetry and writing. And so the pastor came to me and said, hey, for our Easter service, could you write us an Easter slam poem? You have 3 minutes.
Wow.
And I want you to convey the gospel in a profound way and I want you to do it from memory for the people, for the Lord. And that was a really intense challenge. And so, man, yeah.
I love that. I love how creative we're willing to get on Easter for different things.
Yeah.
One year in our at my last church, we set up these screens with silhouettes and pre-recorded, and like changed the tone of people's voices so they wouldn't be recognizable. That were telling different perspectives of people at the cross, and it was profoundly impactful on people who were present. And that was for youth group.
Yeah.
Like the things we're willing to do, and that's not compromising on anything. I think that's like a really healthy, pragmatic idea.
Yeah, it's
But
like the utilization of different instruments, in Psalm 150. It's not just like you just need the trumpets. What about the cymbals? What about the harps? These different options and these different giftings that God's used us to try to convey a beautiful message or melody even.
Yeah.
Your last name.
Yes, that is my last name. So you did that at First Church as well.
Yeah.
23 maybe?
Yeah, 22, 23.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been a while.
Yes, this is not a setting that has experienced a lot of almost rap on a Easter service. But yeah, almost rap, is that fair to say? Like it's rhythmic in a way.
Yeah, the only thing it lacks is a beat, like a musical beat behind it. I think we might have done like some synth pad, sounds or something behind it, so it's not just silence. But yeah, the one thing that rap needs is like some kind of meter, so it's like dun 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 dun. Yeah. But that's not what slam poetry.
Were you a beatboxer back in the day?
I could do a little, boots and cats and boots and cats.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So I was moved once. Shaylin was preaching. Bob and I were at Together for the Gospel, and we're there with our wives and some others. And Together for the Gospel was this conference that, actually Patty wasn't there, but it was this conference. Shaylin was preaching, and at the end of his sermon, he almost went into a sort of like slam poetry at the end of a sermon, and I actually found it profoundly appropriate. It really packed the punch of the message, all summed up in a short period of time, but in the moment, like you're sitting there receiving this beautiful poetic thing, and it's so wonderful.
100%. I had to, while you were talking, look up that video, just because I strongly recommend it to anybody that's a follower of Jesus. And I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've seen it many a time. It's the guy's name is Chris Webb, Webb, and he calls it The Gate. So if you were to just search on YouTube, Chris Webb, The Gate, it'll come up. And it's only 3.5 minutes.
Okay.
And it's really worth your time.
Yeah. Those scriptures are terrifying.
They definitely...
Some of the most terrifying scriptures.
For sure. Yeah, especially the ones right before it. Lord, Lord, did we not do all of these mighty things in your name?
Yeah.
Casting out demons and such, which makes you wonder, are they trying to lie because they didn't cast out demons? Or did they actually somehow cast out demons without the power of Jesus? Or did Jesus give him that power even though they weren't saved? It's a really disturbing element of how do you explain them seemingly being so convinced that they were worthy.
Yeah. And seemingly possessing some sort of spiritual gifts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to close, I just we were talking about this last week, and then you told me that a lot of times during sermons you jot down poems, 12 words poems.
Yeah, I do. So like, if I hear a quote, a sentence, if I find a verse that is profound to me, or sticks with me, somehow resonates, echoes in my mind, I will stack those words vertically, and then I will write a little wall of words poem off of it casually as I'm listening. And it's kind of a way for me to interpret or to meditate upon what I'm listening to, and it kind of crafts it into this poem. I've actually had a dream. This is no like a pitch, or this isn't set up, but I've had a dream to use it in a way in which it could promote a speech or a sermon or a business or something of that nature, where, it could be a way for people to have a different form of meditation on it, a different set of notes, if you will, something to kind of take home and ponder upon the sermon based on this like kind of condensed version of some phrases in it.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
But right now, that's just like my personal thing that I do from time to time.
This is completely off the cuff, but what you just said kind of made me think of this. I once in a while get these weird emails. They're like AI generated emails, right? But they're from somebody that says they're like a ministry associate or ministry helper that says, we use AI to generate sermon outlines from your sermons to give out to your people for small group discussion or something like that.
Sure.
This is my question. Have you ever tried to experiment with ChatGPT or AI to see if they would write a wall of words poem?
Yes, and they're currently incapable. So I actually have some developers that are working on a web game for us to come out with in the next few months. That's like Wordle in terms of it's on the web, it's free, it's simple. But here's my 30-second pitch. It's the game that I'm coming out with is the only word game in history. Every other game is a spelling game. It's a letter game. Every other game you find, Scrabble, Boggle, Wordle, they're all letter games. They're not word games. Or if you would prefer, they're all word games, and mine's a sentence game. So it's different. And mine's forming real phrases into cohesive thoughts that are supposed to have a profound impact on people's lives, not just can you spell a word and can you do it in a creative way. And so that's really our hope, is to try and galvanize change on a broader scale, whether it is introducing people or rekindling their love for writing, expression of thoughts, ideas, or really the content itself, which is highly motivated by the Christian moral ethic or faith explicitly. And so that's a big part of the journey. And in that journey, which I am not a computer developer, so this has been a process of getting professional developers on board.
Have you figured out how to talk to computer developers that speak a different language?
Well, I did go into astrophysics, so I do know
you have some of their
the quirky brain communication required. But one of the developers took it upon themselves to try and get ChatGPT to like crank these things out, and it doesn't understand, even with like hours of trying to tell
explain the rules
explain what it needs to be doing. It doesn't know how to do it. And even if it did, it was like approaching the ability to make some kind of like grammatically correct sentence, but like the cat went to the mall is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that has like cohesive topical unity and some kind of profound impact. Like it's meaningful, and it can't even come close to that at this point. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, so it kind of does feel a little bit pure, because right now you can get ChatGPT to write a 250-page book in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And you can get it to do it to where an average person can't tell the difference. And you can even have it synthesize an extensive amount of somebody's information or somebody's sermons to make it sound just like them.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
So in short, like writers are dying.
Yeah.
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 But my hope is that poetry will not.
Well, to close, I think that a good next step for anyone listening that finds himself terribly confused about what Alex is talking about with how he structures these poems in different ways, reach out to Alex, and
I'd love
to show you. He'd love to have you to his house and show you the physical version.
Yeah. I have multiple prototypes. I'm really passionate about it. Yeah, amen. Yeah, Kendra's listening right now thinking, what?
Yeah.
No, we love that. It's actually like a beautiful thing is giving us more opportunities to be hospitable. We love that, and I'm passionate about it, as you can probably tell. If anybody doesn't know kind of at this point what I'm referencing, I have two main ways to describe it. Here's one. Think of a crossword puzzle, and instead of letters, you're putting words in the boxes so that it reads both ways. Okay, that's a very crass way to put it, but that gets you a little bit of the point across. Or think of this. Think of reading your favorite book, okay? And then having somebody tell you, hey, did you know that if you read the first word of every line down vertically, it's actually a whole hidden chapter in your favorite book? And then you saying, no way, you do it, it actually comes true. You're like, oh my gosh, those actually form sentences. And then somebody saying, hey, do that with the second word of every line in your book. That's another hidden chapter. And doing that with the stacking those words to make hidden sentences. That's what I'm trying to do on a smaller scale. I don't write big books like this, but I do write poems like this. And that's what I hope can help the world.
That's awesome. Well, it's kind of an ongoing running thing that when I'm on the podcast, when I'm let out of podcast jail and I'm allowed to speak into the mic again, I like to offer things. And so last time I was on the podcast, I said that Pastor Bob would take anyone to Smoky Row that outwrote him at Caronite. So, So now the offer is Alex will have you over to his house to show you. You're
very
more.
generous, Mike.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. Yeah. The Lord is generous to me, and so I try to be generous to others.
Yeah.
Well, this week we're going into Daniel chapter 3. Do you know what Daniel chapter 3 is about? A furnace.
Yeah, that's right. The fiery furnace.
Yeah, we're kind of moving on from Daniel a little bit to his friends.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar's furnace. And so Bob will be preaching on that on Sunday. But with that said, we will see you at church on Sunday at 9:30. It's going to be a great morning of fellowship. And then the following week, that's right, the following week, we have Missions Fest.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah, it will be a huge blessing. So God bless you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, farewell.